Good morning and welcome to News at 10 on Rajya Sabha TV. I am Aishwarya Kapoor. Let us start with the headlines. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley to present the Economic Survey of 2015-16 today in both Houses of Parliament. Survey to be out in 2 volumes. Short duration discussion in Rajya Sabha on JNU Rao and Rohit Vemula's suicide left incomplete after opposition protests. HRD Minister and opposition engage in war of words. Over 100 school kids take ill after consuming midday meal in Palghar in Maharashtra. Police register case, food samples sent for testing. The US alleges China attempting to keep it out of the Pacific, warns it will continue to step up its operations in South China Sea. China refutes allegation. India reiterates no unilateral action in the region. And US and China agree on draft UN resolution on North Korea for imposing tougher sanctions. Security Council expected to vote on it during the weekend. Well, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley will table the economic survey in both houses of Parliament today. This will be followed by Chief Economic Advisor Dr. Arvind Subramanian presenting his second economic survey at a press conference at 3 p.m. The annual document is prepared by advisors to the Finance Minister. Well, the survey was revamped last year by bringing it out in 2 volumes. The first is a commentary on the economy by Arvind Subramanian, and the second contains chapters with detailed facts and analyses of various sectors. Meanwhile, HRD Minister Smriti Irani on Thursday rebutted allegations of undue interference in the central universities, saying that her ministry is not imposing her party's ideology in any manner. Her remarks on JNU controversy, however, met with strong protest from the opposition in the Rajya Sabha, forcing the chair to adjourn the House. After around a 5-hour-long debate, the HRD Minister Smriti Irani's reply to the short-duration discussion on the controversy surrounding JNU and Hyderabad Central University was left incomplete on Thursday due to protest from the opposition on her remarks on the JNU controversy. Smriti began her reply by countering the allegations of undue interference in the central universities, saying that her ministry is not imposing her party's ideology in any manner.
I had the distinct privilege, sir, of appointing to the Indian Council of Historical Research a lady by the name of Purbi Roy. Purbi Roy is a renowned scholar on Netaji and INA history and India-Russia relations. What would possibly fascinate my left supporter friends is this, that she is the wife of a Rajya Sabha member of a Communist party. Hence, if there was an intention to completely saffronize education, why would I personally pick a scholar who is ideologically, politically not aligned to me or my organization?
Talking about the JNU controversy, Smriti also referred to a program organized by the students' wing of left parties, which drew sharp protest from the opposition members. Congress members soon walked into the well of the House, and with protesting members not relenting, the Deputy Chairman adjourned the proceedings of the House for the day. This is Vishal Dahiya's report for Rajya Sabha TV. Meanwhile, the duty doctor at the University of Hyderabad, the health centre, appeared to contradict the claim of HRD Minister Smriti Irani that no doctor was allowed near the body of research scholar Rohit Vemula on the day he had died, either to revive him or remove him to the hospital. Now, Dr. M. Rajshri, the doctor on duty on that fateful day when Rohit had allegedly committed suicide on 17th of Jan, said that she was the one who had examined the body and had declared him dead. Remember, during a debate in Lok Sabha on the controversy surrounding the Hyderabad University and the JNU, Smriti Irani had said that nobody allowed a doctor near Rohit either to revive him or take him to the hospital.
On 17th of January 7:20 to 7:30 के बीच में मुझे कॉल आया था NRS हॉस्टल से कोई स्टूडेंट सुसाइड अटेम्प्ट किया है, मैडम आप तुरंत आ जाइए। तो मैं विदिन 3 to 5 मिनट्स में NRS हॉस्टल पहुंची। वहाँ उसका जबान पूरा बाहर आके प्रोट्रूडेड था। मैं पूरा देखने के बाद, क्लिनिकल एग्जामिनेशन कंप्लीट होने के बाद वहाँ पे सिक्योरिटी ऑफिसर था, उसको बताया कि रोहित इज़ डेड, आई एम डिक्लेयरिंग ऐसे रोहित इज़ डेड। 15-20 मिनट के बाद पुलिस वहाँ पे पहुंची।
And earlier, the government and opposition members had exchanged barbs in the upper house of parliament during the discussion on the controversy surrounding JNU and Hyderabad Central University. While the main opposition, Congress and the left parties demanded a House committee for inquiry into the matter, the ruling BJP clarified that it is not against rival ideologies but will not tolerate anti-national activities.
Initiating the debate on the situation in the central institutions of higher learning, including JNU and Hyderabad University, CPIM leader Sitaram Yechuri accused the ruling party of trying to suppress dissent and impose its ideology. Leader of opposition Ghulam Nabi Azad also urged the government to desist from the issue of nationalism to create divide and demanded the setting up of a House committee to examine the developments in various central universities.
हम एक मांग करते हैं कि एक हाउस कमेटी होनी चाहिए और विपक्ष का, और हाउस कमेटी होनी चाहिए हमारी, और विपक्ष का कोई भी लीडर उसका चेयरमैन होना चाहिए, और जो फंक्शनिंग ऑफ यूनिवर्सिटीज का देखे कि जिस तरह से ये ABVP के नाम पे पूरे देश को बांटा जा रहा है और स्टूडेंट फ्रेटर्निटी को बांटा जा रहा है, उसको देखे।
हमारे लिए भगवद गीता, हमारे लिए बाइबल, हमारे लिए कुरान, ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है सर, ये। और इस कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के चलते हुए जो अधिकार हमें देते हो आप, अब इसके अंदर कोई विरोध करता आपकी नीतियों का, कोई अगर नारा उठाता है कुछ आपके खिलाफ, वो देशद्रोही है।
Finance Minister and Leader of the House Arun Jaitley intervened in the debate, defending the government. Clarifying that the ruling party and the government is not averse to their ideologies, Jaitley, however, said anti-national activities will not be tolerated.
Of course, what happened in Patiala House is condemnable. But vandalism is condemnable, sedition is free speech. Nobody can subscribe to this ideology, and least of all should ever the Congress party subscribe to it.
While BSP reiterated its demand of including a Dalit member in the inquiry committee looking into the suicide of Rohit Vemula at HCU, members from other opposition parties also expressed their concern at the recent events in JNU and HCU.
JNU के अंदर देश के खिलाफ जो नारे लगे across party line, वो गलत है। उनकी निंदा होनी चाहिए, उनकी भर्त्सना होनी चाहिए, वो आगे न लगें। इसके इंतजामात सिर्फ JNU में ही नहीं, सब जगह सब राजनीतिक शक्तियों को करने चाहिए, सरकार को करने चाहिए, सब देश के प्रति प्रेम रखने वाले नागरिकों को करने चाहिए।
जो न्यायिक जांच आयोग बना है, उसमें शेड्यूल कास्ट का अपॉइंटमेंट होना निहायत जरूरी है, ताकि दलितों में न्याय के प्रति विश्वास बढ़े। और दूसरा मेरा निवेदन यह भी है कि जिन 6 आरोपियों को FIR में नामजद किया गया है, सरकार उनके खिलाफ क्या कार्रवाई करने वाली है?
चाहे JNU कैंपस हो, चाहे मुंबई हो, चाहे कलकत्ता हो, चाहे लखनऊ हो, हर जगह पे एक ही मापदंड अपनाना चाहिए। सर, सरकार ने JNU के बारे में जो एक्शन ली है, उसका हम समर्थन करते हैं।
हरिजन एट्रोसिटीज एक्ट के तहत दत्तात्रेय के खिलाफ और 3 लोगों के खिलाफ मुकदमा दर्ज होता है और वो फ्रीली घूम रहे। मैं चाहता हूं कि SC एक्ट को लेकर के जिस वक्त कोई दलित अपने ऊपर जाति का मुकदमा दर्ज करे, 24 घंटे के अंदर उसके हाथ में हथकड़ी होनी चाहिए, वरना क्या फायदा इन कानूनों का। वहां पे जिनके खिलाफ FIR दर्ज करी, उनके खिलाफ कोई भी कार्रवाई अब तक नहीं हुई।
This short duration discussion was scheduled for Wednesday but was deferred due to slogan shouting by BSP MPs, which also led to repeated disruptions in the House. With Navvikram Singh, Vishal Dayya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And also in the Rajya Sabha, the union government defended the action taken by Delhi police in the JNU controversy and the incidents of violence outside the Patiala House Courts complex. Although Home Minister Rajnath Singh said that if there were lapses on the police's part, action would be taken. The opposition, however, came down heavily on the government for defending those involved in the Patiala House Court incident, saying that the accused are being let off easily.
Replying to the calling attention motion on the breakdown of law and order in Delhi, the Home Minister and his deputy defended the action taken by Delhi police in the JNU controversy and the incidents of violence inside Patiala House Courts.
पटियाला हाउस कोर्ट की जो घटना है बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है, उसकी मैं निंदा करता हूं। पहले भी निंदा किया था और आज भी मैं निंदा करता हूं। जो भी विधि सम्मत है वह कार्रवाई हमारी दिल्ली पुलिस ने की है। जेल में है कि बाहर है, इसका फैसला जो भी करना होगा, आरोप जो लगे हैं वह सही हैं या गलत हैं, जो भी फैसला करना होगा यह तो अदालत करेगी। वैसे हमारी सरकार का जहां तक प्रश्न है, पुलिस के इन्वेस्टिगेशन के काम में हम कभी भी हस्तक्षेप नहीं करते हैं।
Incidents in the Jawaharlal Nehru University, a group of many students in the university tried to vitiate the atmosphere, but it remained limited to the university premises. The Delhi police...
No, please, sit down. No, you proceed. You don't look at that.
The Delhi police,
Mr. Minister, you
while
proceed.
exercising restraint in the Patiala House Courts premises, did not use force because there was a full possibility of stampede due to limited space in the court premises, and use of tear gas would have interfered with the working of the court.
Earlier, opposition leaders cutting across party lines came down heavily on the government, alleging inaction in the Patiala House case. They also talked about the inappropriate action in the JNU controversy.
This government has allowed the rule of law and order in national capital to collapse by encouraging, sponsoring and supporting violence and unlawful activities and attacks on citizens, even in the precincts of the courts and outside the courts, on media persons, on teachers, on litigants, and hooligans have been let loose to violate the law. No action has been taken for long.
Answer to us how this violence took place. Unless there was some support from the political masters.
Okay.
In the all-party meeting, I told the Prime Minister, I believe in straightforward talk. I ask you, without the political masters' approval, Delhi police could have remained silent.
Okay, K.C. Tyagi, please.
As mute spectators.
All right.
You answer this. Attacks in the Patiala House courts were pre-planned, and there were bouncers who were sent in the lawyer's uniform. They were sent in the lawyer's uniform. Therefore, as far as lumpans and the goons, gangsters start teaching patriotism, the situation becomes very dangerous. शौके सितम से आप जरा बाज आइए, दिल का नगर जला के न दिल्ली सजाइए, झुलसे न हाथ आपके खुशबू की आंच में, फूलों का रंग देख के धोखा न खाइए।
मापदंड एक सा होना चाहिए। अगर कोई कश्मीर से आकर नारा लगाता है वो भी दंडनीय है, और अगर कोई यहाँ नाथुराम गॉडसे को गांधी की हत्या करने वाले की पूजा करने की कोशिश करता है, महिमा मंडित करने की कोशिश करता है, तो वो भी दंडनीय है। उस पर क्या कार्रवाई हुई?
Home Minister Rajnath Singh defended the role of Delhi police, but also assured members that strong action will be taken if there has been any lapses on their part. He also lauded the efforts of Delhi police in maintaining law and order in the national capital. Vishal Dahiya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, outside Parliament, Delhi court dismissed the plea of Delhi police seeking voice samples of JNU students Umar Khalid and Anirban Bhattacharya, who were arrested on sedition charges. Now, this after the accused refused to do so. However, Delhi police have got a day's custody of JNU-SU President Kanhaiya Kumar, and all the three students will now be interrogated together. Meanwhile, a retired JNU professor has decided to give back his own award to the HRD ministry in the wake of the raging row at the varsity. A Delhi court on Thursday refused to allow the Delhi police to collect voice samples of JNU students Umar Khalid and Anirban Bhattacharya, arrested in a sedition case. The two are in a 3-day police remand, being questioned over the 9th of February event on the JNU campus, during which anti-national slogans were allegedly raised. The police are maintaining confidentiality in the case proceedings in pursuance of an order by the Delhi High Court. Meanwhile, JNU-SU President Kanhaiya Kumar was sent to 1-day police custody after the prosecution said that he needed to be confronted with the other two arrested.
जो भी आवश्यक है इसमें इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग ऑफिसर कर रहा है, और जो भी आगे आवश्यक होगा वो इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग ऑफिसर करेगा। तो मुझे पूरा विश्वास है इस केस की हम बड़ी तत्परता से, निष्पक्षता से, ऑन मेरिट इन्वेस्टिगेशन करके इस केस को एक्यूज के साथ कोर्ट के सम्मुख पेश करेंगे।
Meanwhile, a retired JNU professor, Chaman Lal, has decided to give back an award to the HRD ministry in the wake of the raging row at the varsity. He had earlier returned his Sahitya Academy Award to protest alleged intolerance in the country.
एक मामूली सी घटना को लेके जो जेएनयू के लिए बिल्कुल मामूली है, जब मैं जेएनयू टीचर एसोसिएशन का अध्यक्ष था, इससे बड़ी बड़ी घटनाएं हुई हैं, लेकिन हमने विद्यार्थियों की अगर कोई गलती भी होती रही है तो हम विद्यार्थियों से गलती मनवाते रहे हैं, लेकिन उनको जेएनयू से कभी हम बाहर नहीं निकलने देते रहे, उनको खारिज नहीं होने देते रहे, उनको एक्सपेल नहीं करने देते रहे, उनको पुलिस के हाथों में पकड़वाते नहीं रहे उनको। ये जेएनयू का कल्चर कभी भी नहीं हुआ है।
While the JNU controversy is being debated in Parliament, there were strong words from US Ambassador Richard Verma, who advocated free speech in country's universities and colleges. However, MEA has downplayed his remarks.
No, I mean, where is the doubt that we don't have diversity on our campus or that, free thought in India is curtailed in any way? I mean, the very vigorous debate that we have seen in Parliament itself is an example of the diversity of thought and opinion in India.
The police interrogation of the JNU students continues. The Delhi police says it wants to unearth a larger conspiracy behind the seditious act, saying that the 9th of February event had ramifications in India as well as abroad. Home Minister Rajnath Singh also backed the Delhi police on Thursday for its handling of the JNU incident and the Patiala House assault on students and journalists in the face of criticism from the opposition in Rajya Sabha. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Now to some other news now. Over 100 students of a Zilla Parishad school in Maharashtra's Palghar district fell ill on Thursday after consuming food given to them under the midday meal scheme. The students were served khichdi by the International Society for Krishna Consciousness or ISKCON. Within half an hour of having the lunch, the students complained of stomachache, nausea and giddiness. As a precautionary measure, all 280 students who had consumed the food were taken to hospital. Now 104 students were hospitalized and others were discharged after medical examination. The condition of 17 students is worrying at the moment. Teachers took them to a primary health center where doctors suspected a case of food poisoning. They were later admitted to a district hospital. The police has registered a case while the samples of the food have been sent for testing.
इस्कॉनचे जे दुपारचा त्यांचा डब्बा येतो त्या डब्बा खाल्यानंतर त्यांना विषबाधा झाली असं मला समजलं. मी तात्काळ शाळेत गेले असता टोटली पोरांना विषबाधा झाली.
सर किती मुलं आहेत सध्या, तुम्ही पालक म्हणून काय विचार करायचा?
सर हे विषबाधा होत असेल तर इस्कॉन कंपनीवर गुन्हा दाखल झाला पाहिजे असं माझी वैयक्तिक इच्छा.
Well, we'll take a very short break here. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
I don't attach too much importance to these prizes anyway, but still it is an accomplishment. First time it explained why things go in and don't come out. I call myself the black holy man of India. If you want to see a black hole which exists because of stability, you will have to hit it with something that will be scattered. So the obvious thing for me was gravitational radiation.
Watch Eureka with Professor C.V. Vishweshwara, eminent theoretical physicist, only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. Now, the Haryana government has suspended a senior IPS officer and former IGP of Rohtak, Shrikant Jadhav, and 2 DSPs over the Jat violence in the state. Now, this comes following allegations of omission and commission in containing the agitation and related violence in Rohtak. The state government that has been under fire over handling of the stir has appointed an ADGP rank nodal investigation officer for investigating the Jat agitation cases. On 21st of February, the Haryana government had shifted IG of Rohtak range Shrikant Jadhav amid the Jat agitation in the state, which had claimed 28 lives. Now, Rohtak, Jhajjar and Meham, which fall under Rohtak range, had been the worst hit areas, with miscreant torching several shops, vehicles and commercial establishments and causing heavy damage to public property, besides indulging in vandalism. Meanwhile, the state government informed the Supreme Court that the army has taken over all the 3 points from where water is supplied to Delhi, and it has resumed supplying approximately 1,200 cusecs of water to the national capital. Now, the repairing of the damaged canal is likely to take a fortnight. Well, on to the big international story now. The United States has said that it will step up its operations in the South China Sea with greater complexity. Admiral Harry Harris, the commander of the U.S. Pacific Command, told American lawmakers on the growing friction in the South China Sea. He said that China was building military capabilities in the South China Sea, leading to escalating tension in the region. The harsh assessment from the U.S. top commander in the Pacific comes amidst a series of reports of increasing Chinese capabilities on disputed islands in the resource-rich South China Sea. China has harshly disputed the claim, saying that it is a deliberate attempt to malign China. Last week, remember, satellite images had showed that China had installed a surface-to-air missile battery on the Paracels Islands near Vietnam, and on Monday, reports had surfaced that China is installing a high-tech air search radar that may be capable of detecting U.S. stealth aircrafts on one of its man-made islands in the Spratly Islands. India, meanwhile, has once again reiterated that all states should avoid unilateral action in the South China Sea.
It's very clear to me that those capabilities that are being developed are intended to limit our ability to move into the Pacific or to operate freely within the Pacific, and we call that anti-access area denial capabilities. So there are developments in anti-ship capability, anti-aircraft capability, and then, as you described, the Blue Water Navy are clearly intended to limit our ability. And that's why in this particular budget, we have focused on capability development that allow us to maintain a competitive advantage versus China.
Now, I'm not one of these people who believes that conflict with China is inevitable. It's certainly not desirable, but it is we who have provided the environment of peace and stability there that has allowed China to develop freely and economically. And before them, Japan, before them, South Korea, before them, Taiwan, before them, Southeast Asia, now India and China. It is we have provided that environment. Some Chinese understand that that's actually a good thing. We're not out to keep China down.
Well, on South China Sea, our position has remained consistent. India has repeatedly stressed the need for all to respect the freedom of navigation in international waters, right of passage and overflight, unimpeded commerce, and access to resources in accordance with the 1982 Convention of the Law of the Sea. We have also consistently maintained that all states should avoid unilateral actions in the South China Sea that can lead to tensions in the region.
And the US and China have come to an agreement on a draft UN resolution on North Korea aimed at imposing tougher sanctions for its latest nuclear test. Well, according to US Ambassador Samantha Power, it would be the strongest set of sanctions imposed by the Security Council in more than 20 years. The Security Council is now expected to vote on it during the weekend.
The United States tabled a draft UN Security Council resolution that, if adopted, would break new ground and represent the strongest set of sanctions imposed by the Security Council in more than 2 decades.
The US proposes sharp ramping up of North Korea sanctions at the UN with China's support. The draft resolution was the outcome of 7 weeks of tough negotiations between the United States and China, North Korea's neighbor and main ally. For the first time in history, all cargo going in and out of the DPRK would be subjected to mandatory inspection. All small arms and other conventional weapons would be prohibited from being sold to North Korea. Imposition of financial sanctions targeting banks and ban all dual-use nuclear and missile-related systems. Also, for the first time, the Security Council would impose sectoral sanctions limiting exports of coal, iron, gold, titanium, and rare earth minerals. Ban on the supply of aviation fuel, including rocket fuel. These measures would also ground DPRK flights suspected of carrying contraband. Suspicious vessels carrying illicit items would be denied access to ports.
We are hoping to have a vote in the very, very, very near future. It has been 7 weeks since the original nuclear test by North Korea. And we used each of the days in that 7 weeks constructively, as I think you all will see when you see the text of the resolution.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi also expressed concerns over US missile defense system in South Korea. Earlier, China and the United States have been at loggerheads on how strong the response should be to North Korea since Pyongyang's nuclear test last month. While Washington urged for harsh measures, Beijing had emphasized on a dialogue process.
无论是北方还是南方，无论是自己制造的还是引进部署的，半岛如果出现了核武器，对各方不符合各方的利益，也不符合朝鲜。
North Korea has been under the UN sanctions since 2006 because of its multiple nuclear tests and rocket launches. Latest expansion of sanctions comes in the wake of North Korea's nuclear test and missile launch on January 6th. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And shocking story coming in from the US, where at least 4 people were killed and up to 30 wounded when a gunman opened fire at near a factory in a small town in Kansas in the United States. The local police say that the number of victims could possibly rise to 7. Well, the gunman was among those dead. Local media identified the gunman as Cedric Ford, who worked as a painter at the factory and had posted a picture of himself on Facebook with an assault rifle. Now, witnesses reported seeing the gunman first shoot a woman in the parking lot of the factory before entering the assembly area and then opening fire.
We know the shooter is down. There could be as many as 3 or 4 others, and possibly up to 20 people that have been injured.
We just took off running, and everybody was coming outside, and as soon as we got outside, there was gunshots, and this one guy, he got shot in the leg, and he was walking. One of the OPEXs, he got shot 4 times. 4 other people I know got shot. It was horrible.
And on to cricket now. Well, match number 2 of the Asia Cup saw Sri Lanka after an ordinary performance with a bat winning over UAE by 14 runs. The UAE missed a golden chance to claim a first victory over a major test playing nation after the batsman wilted against the brilliance of Lasith Malinga. Playing at the Asia Cup against the elite of continental cricket for the first time since 2008, the UAE fell to a 14-run defeat to Sri Lanka at Bangladesh's National Stadium. For half the match, the players from the UAE believed that an upset was well within their grasp. Sri Lanka were, however, always going to be a force on the ground, where they have won the Asia Cup as well as World T20 in the past 2 years, and the UAE's national team could barely withstand the onslaught. Well, that's all in this news bulletin. Coming up ahead is Parliament news in both English and Hindi. Thanks for watching.